Okay, here's progress since this update, but the nice thing about this is it's got some quotes from senators and even the refuge of support. So, well, I'm Michelle Joseph, and I have come every year to your meeting to kind of inform you on that I, as a Plum Island resident, kind of just like the Facebook page of this discussion group about the Pink House, and now I have countless hours in personal time and income earning hours, etc., have gone into what became a very big, very complicated thing, that the community support just keeps growing for this house. She grows in iconic status, and to get it free from the federal ownership of the refuge. Can I just ask who knows a little bit about this or not? I don't know if you...
I think we all know.
Yeah, okay, so I'll give you more short. So anyway, I'm just kind of here to report on it a little more because, once again, I just want to say that this is in our community, this thing that is getting so much attention. It is in the town of Newbury, and you know, it is, I think it's just really important to recognize the value of that it brings more people here all the time, especially in the off-season, in the winter. There's lots and lots and lots of testimonials about how much it means to them, that it's our rock, we've heard the Rockport motif, but also Neville Lighthouse, our Sitco sign, the way people say that it identifies the area. So it's only continued to grow. We have gotten listed in TripAdvisor as a point of interest. It somehow ended up, we did not do this, as a landmark. If you look on Google Maps, and it's got our website, there's a Wikipedia page pending. You may be aware that there's been a Pink House clothing line that has been created from Ron Emmerling's.
Yeah, that one.
So Claudia Harris, who owns the Elephant Trunk, which is the oldest boutique in the town of Newburyport, worked with the NAA. There's so many people who paint and photograph it, and Ron Emmerling, of course, is very, you know, obviously one of their more famous, notable painters. And so there was a young guy from Canada who can make clothing actually quite attractively put in all the right places, not the wrong places, from art. And so she had a Pink House clothing line made. There's about 5 different tops, a dress, there's a tie and a scarf. They had a big fashion show, it was in the papers and stuff at the NAA, and they continue to do that. I'm seeing those photographs in every doctor's office, Anna Jake's and Kelcorse's office at the State House, everything. Everywhere I go, I see it. Also, it was in the Honda commercial, that was the local Honda commercial, and that thing went viral. It got shared and shared and shared and shared and shared. And just driving by it. And then lastly, the fact that we finally got some little, you know, painting, a little bit of freshening of just some of the stuff on the outside done. I was shocked to see, you know, 300 shares, and of those shares, you know, it went to more people and their comments. So, and it, you know, it also appears, you know, on bank calendars now. There's more and more artisans doing Pink House, you know, ornaments, and it's been on the bank calendars and that type of stuff. So it's just, you know, growing and growing, which is great. The other thing that's been growing is the support. There's extraordinary support. All the state, local, and federal officials have come and donated their time. I've been quietly working for the last 18 months behind the scenes. We were having public monthly meetings for a while, but then when we started to get close to solutions, they were a delicate process, so we were kind of, you know, guarding that by trying to move the ball behind the scenes. And so we're very close to something where we could get, in the refuge, which I hear is quite unusual, has gone from no to that they're grateful, excited, and committed, which I hear all the time. Committed to seeing this go through, and they're so grateful to you for, because this would be something that really would work well. And it is, again, it is the most incredible pushing a rock up a hill story, because every time something great starts to happen, then there's complexities, but, you know, just keep pushing through them. So just need tenacity and faith and positive attitude all the time. And I will say that there have been 4 recent letters written, and one by, you know, Senator Ives, who wrote a beautiful letter with Senator Tarr and Kelcorse, and they're all signing it. A letter from Congressman Moulton, and Senator Markey's office has, you know, talked with me quite a bit and met with the refuge several times on our behalf. I've actually met Congressman Moulton and met Senator Warren and have them holding Pink House stickers and talked to them about it a bit. And even, the mayor of Newburyport and the president of the Greater Chamber was saying that he thought that this was a fantastic thing, that it brings more people here. I just wish we had more ways that the town of Newbury could benefit. We talk about doing, why not have a winter festival for artists and a contest of some type for people who come and paint it, and how can they, how can they give, how can that help this town make some money and things like that. It's just a shame that there aren't more places to eat or to stay, but if there were, I just wanted to, throw out that we're interested in trying to do something like that to help our town from it. But, and then lastly, just the condition of the house. I know that it looks worse, and I've got one of the reports. So Bill Barrett, you may know, Plum Island Construction, he's taken in, and I've talked to Doug and Sam several times about this. So every year since 2015, before starting all this, went from the top of the cupola down to the basement, and every nook and cranny just checking out to see how is it. And however she looks from the outside, there is no leaks at all from the roof. All the windows we have gotten completely well secured. Then you have an issue about no air coming in and out, so we've got a ventilation, some bit of ventilation now put in. No mold growing. And everything is completely, there's no cracks in the foundation, everything is totally secure, all the windows are aligned, and so her bones are very sound. We did have last year some of the greenery cut away, which now reveals worse paint, but on the other hand, it was a way to get the house to have sunlight and to breathe and all that. And, having her broom swept, and it was like, and during the 3 nor'easters, very concerned. Everybody was like, gee, the whole Plum Island Turnpike is flooded over. No one seems to say, what about the Plumbush Downs houses, why? There's only a few of those on stilts, but the Pink House has a full basement, and it's always a little bit damp down there. Went right down there right after all the flood water, receded, and there was only a 1-inch watermark on the, roughly 1-inch watermark on the wall. So just very important to know that it continues to be stable, but I fight every day to have more done to her just to keep her okay, and especially before winter. So this year we got them to do even more. They're preventing any mold that might come from having that nor'easter. There's some vents that are open, so we got those shut, had them wash down those walls with mold-specific stuff, I can't pronounce it, and sealing those floor grates, and gonna bleach over those walls as well, just to be sure. There's a soffit that's been installed in the basement that's been boarded up more properly, and filled any holes around the building base. And then that front and sides is actually not part of the house. It is a patio, but it's been filled in. So you know how they usually have those very thin little lattice work things to kind of hide the little way that it's lifted up. That is what got a little bit of rot from the waters. So I had them patch. I was hoping to have solid boards, but they patched it. So that's where agreeing to paint it. Mm-hmm. And while I was at it, I was like, can't we just paint the outlines of the windows? And could we paint the banister? And could we paint the door? And instead, we did get at least around the door and the 3 windows in the bottom. And it was something, but I was amazed at how many people were like, oh, something's being done, And I, of course, was happy as could be.
Oh my God, who's here?
Sorry. Hi. So anyway, and then also I was just like, there's one shade up, one shade down, it drives everybody nuts, can you do one or the other? So slight cosmetic improvements. We ultimately, just to wrap it up, are looking for, and I do have like a letter I could show you of what I've been sending out. We're looking for owners, because if there's a land trade, that means for a very brief time, the land could be held benevolently for us to make the transfer to the new owner, whoever that may be. Right now looking for some type of nonprofit or something or some research, kind of like UNH who comes, or somebody doing marine or climate research, who might give it a low impact use, not teeming with cars, whatever. And but if worst case, it could be sold to an individual, but we are going to put some deed restrictions, which is, I guess, the words have been tossed around about a PR, restrictions of some kind on there, and there are few. It said it remains pink, and we'll find a Pantone color. I've been told that that's the best way to do it. that the silhouette as viewed from the front three sides remain the same, that the roof line remain the same, because it's about being out there in that nature and completely unobstructed. However, on the back there could be, there's, you know, like a patio that's fallen apart in a little old like single car garage that could be, if someone needed more room, they could do stuff on the back. I did talk to both Doug and Sam about, you know, that is not Plum Island, land can be built up, you know, you can put more on the gravel driveway, that there is, you know, I've talked to them about just about everything and priced out about everything, whether you raise it, whether you don't raise it, whether you put in French drains, whether you put electrical up on the ceiling in the basement, you know, thinking 25 or 30 years ahead. And I have literally asked every question that could be asked. What kind of bushes could be put in? How could that help feed the birds and give more roots to hold the soil, et cetera, et cetera. And just tried to check all that out so that I could answer those questions for anybody. I've been very surprised at the answers. I'm very surprised at how inexpensively the thing could be renovated, certainly from the outside. It was something that we've been dying to do, and have a lot of local suppliers lined up to donate things if we could, and it would be a wonderful community love project. But anyway, we don't want any signs to be painted on or affixed to the pink house, no neon, you know, to the grounds, except something that's a suitable marker, maybe approved by stewards or whomever, and that you know, existing shrubbery and whatever be within the mood of, or the plantings that are there for the purpose of soil permanence, and that it would be accessible, at least from the street, to painters and
Can I ask
photographers.
you a question? Is this still owned by the federal government?
It is still owned by the
But
federal
they're
government.
letting you go in and do all this stuff?
No, that's why someone has said it's a complete miracle that we've gotten them to
Okay.
do what they can. But
Yeah.
because they're excited about the potential of land trade, because when you think about it, that is not even 1 acre. It is on a well-traveled road. It is the only upland. The Pink House land is made up of 3 parcels, 9.29 acres total. They would keep 8 of those acres.
Yep.
They want to get all the money they put into buying it 10 years ago back, assuming that the appraisal, you know, we've been keeping on the appraisal, at least from here, from our town, that it's roughly in the 375-ish area, and they paid about 370 for it in 2011. They haven't really put anything into the house.
Right.
And we've gotten them to put a security camera on it and put signage all around as well. So these little things they've done have kind of been more to like, this is the, I don't want to say the bargaining chip, but this is the prize, the whole thing that's, everything is centering around, and it needs to be cared for.
So what is it that's gonna let them let it go for that amount of money?
I am, if we're, you know, going out to the public, I'm not at liberty to say, but it is a very large piece of land that would expand the current refuge holdings that would not be built on or have anything like that happen, mostly salt grass, which is tough because to get $370,000 worth back, that's about $1,000 an acre, you've got to find a fair amount. But if the land, there's some, you know, so starting to find land and parcels that can go together, there's a piece that they're
So they still wanna do the trade?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, very much so, in fact, just heard from them. Is that because there was a newspaper article saying no progress was made at our meeting or last meeting?
I don't think so. I just wasn't sure if where you were saying you were going into the house and doing this and that. I
Yeah.
said, what's going on then?
Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
well, and this is the thing, is that I've talked to him about having volunteers go in and just sweep it out every now and
Right.
again and do whatever
Yeah.
we could do, you know, can you let me tidy up a little, you know, anything. And, but because it is federally owned land, it is quite complex, and there might be things that the refuge may wanna work on, but there's other people to answer to. So that, trying to both make progress and honor all of that has been very, you know, a very interesting process. So trying to do the best for everyone and trying to go with good faith for everyone and manage to have been getting every year a little bit more, and that's because we're making more and more progress. But it is something that's been kind of delicate and don't wanna, it's like one of those things where you don't wanna count your chickens before they're hatched, but the chickens are laying, you know. And the one component that I have to finish up finding is, you know, you can't count on something till it's done. But we're probably closer to a solution than we've ever been. which is something I've been working diligently at, and we need to find an owner. So one of the things is we have some people on advisory boards who are, you know, big real estate lawyer, architects, etc. And so we're gonna complete this deed restriction list that maybe, you know, and we'll probably need someone to hold that. Apparently, I'm learning about all this. Secondly, we are looking for owners, so I don't know, because in order to make the trip, like, many things have to happen at the same time, do you know what I mean? It's a matter of juggling lots of balls, so you're advancing everything forward at once. So trying to get that going while I find the owner who would then need to be approved, who then would make that transfer very quickly, and if there was any refurbishment that we would offer be done, it has to be done as soon as that land was available before the owners came. And that is the simplest part. But I just wondered if you guys, I didn't come with any big questions at the moment. I wanted to tell you about this, and again, continue to keep that in your awareness of how much attention this pink house is getting that is in the town of Newbury, that is all about preserving it, you know, and all about its landmark kind of status, and all about how it identifies everybody's drive out to Plum Island and this area and makes it special, which I think would be some of the crux of what's of interest to you guys. But would you happen to know of anybody who might fit the bill, or any university, anybody looking for a home, any, you know, like for example, Woods Hole has 2 houses, northern satellite houses. The trustees were changing their strategic plan to look for, to become leaders in how to preserve coastal housing after the footage of the waves crashing over at those houses. You know, that's suddenly become very big in all of the coastal regions. You know, erosion where, or migration rather, where those who are living at the edge either need to figure out how to live there or move back in a bit. And so that seems to be a big focus for a lot of people. And this, which, you know, I've looked into, does it need to be raised on stilts? People can do that. It's not that costly. It would only be about 2 feet. Does it need to be right now or for the next 20 years? Not necessarily. If anything, the Plum Island Turnpike would have to be raised again if all those houses are going to be
It's been there fine already.
Yeah.
It'll be fine.
It's since 1925, right?
But what about your sewer, water, and utilities?
It's under the PIOD. And they have electrical wires there. Part of what would be easy to renovate is to put on a new roof. There's 8 windows, put new ones that are energy efficient, put on new sideboard, and also to put a new basic electrical panel in. But we've been down in the basement and seen that they've got all the most, I mean, there were people living there apparently up to 2000, it was sold in fall of 2009, so I believe the Stott family was still living there and trying to sell it, and it was usable and all that since 2007, 8, 9, somewhere in there, and that was already when the city water ran, but we actually did go and verify that, so that made it actually more
water, you've got
valuable.
electric, what about the sewer?
The sewer, you
Is
know
the
what,
whole island full?
that's
The water and sewer on the island, yes, it was a federal mandate in order for them to.
so forgive me, this is the one
Yeah,
question I
sure.
find that I get a little mixed up
So,
when
and
I
it
try to
would- and it
answer.
would
You're
be
asking,
rolled
is it,
out, and they had to do them.
if it, what, there's 2 kinds of sewer, is that right, or
Septic
and
hookup.
Right,
Yeah.
hook up to the
So
main
you've
line.
got Newburyport sewer going down the street.
okay, I
So
need to get back to you on that.
you need to make sure that it's still considered an existing dwelling and that it's grandfathered for a connection.
Thank you.
You'd need a pump station and a line, which is difficult in the wetlands. Laying that is under tremendous restrictions as far as disturbing the dirt.
Yeah. It's under restrictions out there, because when I talked to, they said it's really not considered Plum Island, there's nothing nesting there. We already had an Indian artifact study done and proved that there was no problems with digging there, so we at least got that far. So I'll look into
Probably,
that.
but it's also considered part of the wetlands
Yeah.
and the
Yep.
Great Marsh. It's part of the Great Marsh, that area, so that would,
Overlaps that way.
that overlaps a lot of things, so,
Okay,
but
So
as
it's-
Channing said,
Just check with conservation on that
Yeah.
to see what they're gonna say, because you're gonna, if it's gonna be a domicile, it needs to have the sewer and see what they say.
okay. because I know that I've spoken to both,
Doug
you
and
know,
Sam,
yeah.
yeah.
Several
That would be
times,
definitely
and brought some of the-
Doug Pot there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yes, I said to him, what is the issue, what can I say if someone says they want to put a little bit of parking in for the 2 or 3 times they may have some people there that's hidden away, and can anything go into the soil? And he said, yes, and you know, that, I said, what about raising her, is there any issue with putting metal pylons in? He said, no, there is not, and I said, to how many feet down? And you know, we kind of covered all that. I said, what about the driveway, could the upland be raised if somebody really wanted to bring in more dirt, is there an issue with that? And the answer was no, and you could put gravel, shell, you could even blacktop it,
That's,
you know?
yeah, that's the
And
first
I
thing.
was surprised too, he said it is not the island, it is the
No.
mainland.
I think the last time I think we spoke to you.
It's the elevation, it's not whether it's the island or the mainland, it's the elevation.
Right, so it does, yeah, but I mean, I did ask, you know, I was trying, just because again, I'm not an expert in this, but I've learned a heck of a lot, and I ask every next question I can think of to the folks who I believe have answers, and I'm surprised that, you know, I don't think anybody's gonna bring a bunch of soil in, but certainly, we just talked about all the many ways that one could deal with the
Well,
next 35
Because
years.
it's an existing driveway,
Yes.
Yeah.
so you can replicate the existing driveway
Sure.
and things like that.
Yes.
I mean, as far as, making new ones,
Mhm.
parking spaces, covering part of the wetlands and stuff, that might be where there'd be a hitch.
Well, and we did
But the
speak to the
driveway
refuge.
that's there would be,
Yeah,
you know, and usually it's like kind.
yeah,
I mean, I couldn't replace my driveway, but I am on the island
yeah,
with the hot top I had,
yeah.
so.
I was told I
Yes.
could, which I was shocked at, but I didn't want to do it, you know, that I had a black top and I ended up going with pavers. But so any other questions that you want me to check out or that I
Now,
find helpful,
wasn't
thank
there
you.
a time frame? I swore the last time we talked to you that the federal government was giving you, hey, you know, you got until this time and this time and this time. Have they changed that?
Well, it appears they have.
Good. Glad to hear it.
You know, at the time when we got a stay of demolition,
Right.
that was because I've now learned that Congressman Moulton's, a federal delegation, Congressman Moulton's office, the Markey's rep and Warren's rep, all three who I've met with, Kate and John D'Angelo, all three got on the phone with Bill Peterson, and it was like it was just like, can you please keep the house up for now? And the answer was sure. And in that time, I just really got to work. I thought, you know, there's been an enormous amount of conversation, and I'm saying I, because I do tend to be the person to make those calls. There is a steering committee, everybody's got their roles. And, but talking to everybody I could, it finally got to where I don't know if I reported to you after our Valentine's Day, but on Valentine's Day of 2017, I said, why don't we get everybody who can make a decision or offer a solution around one table and stop the millions of conversations and start getting productive and narrow it down to 1, 2, 3 solutions. Are there anything that's viable? Let's start with 1 and finish it to its end. Let's go to 2 and one of them's got to work, and if they don't, we at least know we've done everything. And that did involve, you know, coming and meeting here and talking to both Doug and Sam with our building guys and asking all those questions, and as recently as they were surprised to find that it was in the PIOD. And anyway, so as far as that is not my forte as much, and but I do know that I tried to cover every base, and they were feeling okay about it. But I am happy to know of any other concerns so that I can check on those and any other things.
So the time limit is off the table?
Yeah.
They just want to come to some kind
Yes,
of
forgive me,
resolution?
we were
Yes.
leading there. I just went
Perfect.
back to his question.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes, so the thing is that in the fact of pursuing solutions, it seemed like that was no longer, like at that point, there's been so much interest rolling that there was no, I mean, if for some reason everything falls through, I don't know what's gonna happen. I sometimes picture that I'll be 95, still, you know, saying, okay, what's the next solution? But hopefully, you know, this, it's hard to even go there. We're close to something, and it seems like there's been so much attention, it would be very difficult to take it down at this point, but a solution has to be
Especially for
found.
them. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, makes them look good.
that solution has to be found.
That's right.
Yeah, and so, that's where we are at the moment. But, so I should look into what you were talking about. And is there any other concerns that you have or any other advice you have to give me?
I just don't, I guess I'm not understanding, it'd be an acre sold, the whole
Traded.
traded.
They
So
will
much
keep-
marshland, so
They're gonna keep, you know,
they'll keep it, right, I understand that, yeah.
something of this, so it's a
Just the
great
acres.
deal
The
for that
buyer,
house. Yes.
say if the trustees
Yes,
wanted, which I don't think they would because it's a house and I don't think, but, so how much land would they have to trade?
well, we are arranging a trade where, at least right now, whereas a benevolent gesture, they would hold that 1 acre for the new, so it's not like the trustees have to trade it. But trustees are in the business of houses, at least they said, Greenbelt's in the business of land, we're working on all these different coalitions and talking to everybody who's got that. But, it would be, yes, the 1 acre or so, which, you know, the little house, that's all upland.
Uh-huh.
The rest of the 9.29 acres, you know,
Stay-
gets to
that-
stay
yeah.
marshland preserved by the refuge over here. The other land that might be found has gotta come roughly to the 370 or so. I have a 1,000 that they paid for.
Right, what's marshland going for?
I have a feeling, and that's what I said, $1,000 an acre, so that would say 370. However, there are ways that if something is super, you know, valuable to them, or by its location, or perhaps it comes super close, like 320. And they did say that there's a little bit of wiggle room, so the thing is, all we got to do is
Does it
take the
have
next.
to be in that area? It has to be,
No,
no,
doesn't have
it could
to
be anywhere, huh?
Well, I don't know that it
But
can
they
be anywhere.
prefer that,
Yeah,
that
it
it
would
be
be-
attached to.
Yes.
Well, it would be
other-
nice to be,
Yeah,
you
it'd
know,
be
but
right,
we did talk to them about 2 or 3, when I said to Bill for that Valentine's Day meeting, I said, please come with your top 3 wish list items, whatever they may be. And I'm gonna, you know, we need to know what they are to know if they can be accomplished. And I forget the third one at this point, but one of the ones was to ask Spinea or Historic New England to try to, like, they needed an acre or 3 to be right near their building so they could build a new bunkhouse, which is what this was originally bought for. And I certainly, Historic New England, I had very positive, very long talks with them on several occasions, but it's like, I could have, that's nationally registered, you can't break that up, you know, so that was like off the list, but that would be, for example, something of value. And then he was like, could you find anything around Rolfe Lane, could you find anything other side of Audubon, we
Yeah.
just want something close, and I'm like, and so why not the pink house, you know? And, but they, you know, I just don't know, if the funding to go into whatever they might want to make of it, you know, would be too much or whatever. So, you know, I've learned that the Park and River Wildlife Refuge, and certainly Bill Peterson, manages many areas, lots more than just there. And so, you know, it's a daunting task to try to look around for that kind of, but we, you know, I can't, you know, discuss enough of the details, but to say that I think that if we get close enough with something that is valuable to them in other things besides exact dollars, that there will be the wiggle room. I mean, at this point, all we can do is move forward as if that's the case. And as we get closer, like everything in life, it is a process. You start with no, that's coming down, no, it's
Maybe.
staying up. It's staying up. And, but we want, those are the, oh, that's impossible, but suddenly it's, possible, and then it's like, wow, and then it's, we're, you know, grateful, and this is, yeah, we'll paint the bottom of the thing, do you know what I mean? So I've learned that in life, sometimes you go from, you know, everything's a process, so, you know, we're optimistic, about progressing forward, but nothing's gonna happen unless I find a new owner. So, I mean, there are probably some people that would be so much faster and easier who would, you know, buy that. But I just don't know if with your guys' ear to the ground, is there anywhere that you would point me? I certainly have over about half a dozen universities and like a trustees and whatever, that there's lots of marine biology and study
Yeah,
and
that's what I was thinking.
all that
something
I
like
have called, but I didn't know if you had anything on the tip of your own tongue on your list around here somewhere.
We'll keep you,
Yeah.
Keep in mind.
remembering you,
Yeah.
and,
You should be very proud of yourself. It's a
Oh.
lot of work, and I can't believe it's still standing there.
Yeah.
And it's because of you.
I know, if I
That's
drive by and I go,
wonderful.
yep, she's still there.
Well,
She's looking a little ragged, but she's, at least they got rid of the storm door.
I assumed she was
That was
worse off on the
driving me
inside, so
crazy.
it's good to know that she's
I
not
know.
falling apart on the
Yeah,
inside.
that's
Well,
wonderful.
you know, if you go on our Facebook pages, we have two of them, which is one started a discussion group, and then we were like, gee, we need to do a professional page, and then everybody still's on the, but we do post, I did post a little movie of me in the cupola, which was a great experience. There was one, it was the windiest day, and one rattling a little broken window, but it is incredible up there. It is all wood, top, bottom, everywhere. You walk up a little door that opens from a little stairway, and the windows are, the view from everywhere is just unbelievable. Everywhere you look, I think it would be a great place for an office.
Is it
Man cave.
room size?
It
Yeah,
is,
is it
yeah.
3 bedrooms? What's the stats of the house?
Sorry, Chi, it's been a while since I got the stairway. It is 1, 2, I wanna say 3 or 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms.
Really?
So, yeah, so when you walk in, there is quite a big, like, this patio is almost bigger than the living room.
Yeah.
Then it opens to a door, you go straight up a stairway,
Mhm.
but if you went to walk straight, you'd go into a kitchen, dining room area that had sliding doors to the patio is falling apart. Walk down a step, there is kind of like a one-car garage that we had boarded up because, kids were getting in there. Stamp, little, postage stamp, black and white tile, some of the tiles are up, kitchen. Looks out onto the back.
Fireplace?
Bathroom there, fireplace, and then, if you went in and didn't go up the stairs, there is the living room. And the living room has a fireplace, and that's where the 2 vents were, where I was afraid, water, that just was coming up after not water, like damp particles might be coming up and starting to make a little mold, so we washed all that down, or got them to wash it down with bleach. And also put some anti-bleach material in there just to be sure and to seal those up properly, but to not have the basement have no seal, we put a soffit, vent in the basement, so there'd still be circulation. And people go in and out of it, their own rangers and all that are enough, and getting them up to put up a security camera, and then please will you post security on, cameras are around on all 4 sides. And, anytime we see a little corner of something up, we ask them to please go. And, that is a big change as well, the willingness to do those
They
things.
were kind of hoping it'd fall down, I think.
Yeah,
It wouldn't be a problem.
I know. So, anyway,
If you leave these flyers, we'll put them down our schoolhouse for you.
oh, that'd be terrific.
Okay.
Thank you so much, I'd love that. And we do have more and more merchants putting up this big giant, it's a window claim, so it says I support 6, and we got this now in Ipswich and Rowley, Byfield, Amesbury, obviously Newbury, West Newbury. We started to go into Hampton, Rye, and it's in Kittery and in York as well. So trying to just spread that out in the event of needing to do fundraising, and so.
In closing, just one more note, you talk about the artists festivals, they're doing a lot of that in Essex now. So they have wet paint days where there's artists all over town, followed by an auction and all these other things. So pay attention to what activities go on in Essex.
Okay. Do you guys have any other questions for me, or? I will just leave you with this letter, which I do have a digital version of, but because it has hyperlinks to, we made up a very nice real estate kind of digital package. Instead of handing it to you, you can go online, and I can forward it to anybody who would like to see it.
If you wanna send it to the site, I can shoot it to the members.
Okay.
It's that
You
easy,
know.
yeah.
And it's not something that's out there for public consumption at this moment, but we did say, for anybody who's interested, we have got, Bill's letter, Bill Barrett's letter saying that she sounded quite a detailed way. We have got, a slideshow of all the beautiful photos so people can imagine, what everybody's taken. We have a floor plan, we've got some comparables, there aren't any comparables, but we do have some, other information, and we talk about what has been done to continue to fortify the house. Just some basic things that would help anybody who's truly interested in what could I do to reconfigure the inside. And, we're gonna have to do some fundraising to help with the surveying and whatever land is to be traded. However, we also are potentially, if we find somebody who needs help with the refurbishment of at least the outer shell, we just are prepared for 12 different things to happen and trying to move them all along at the same time. But if you can think of, and I'm gonna leave this.
I remember when they first put that
support.
house up for sale, it was like 1.1 or something.
Was that
Way
it was
too
all
much.
the land? Cause
Cause they owned it all.
Wow.
Have you found that you have a lot of support from people who live like on the other side of the street and the food place down there and stuff like that?
Oh,
Bob's Lobster.
Bob's,
Lobster,
yeah.
and we.
I'm wondering if that's some, like a fundraiser or something on
Sure.
that idea there.
Yeah, one of the ladies who paints the house lives right across the street from it. and-
Yeah, behind the
Yeah.
back, a little back.
Yeah, and Bob, Lobster, I think has just been bought recently, and referred by neighbors, our neighbors out on Plum Island there, right?
The people who worked there bought it from the people who owned it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay, well, that's.
one of the
great.
people who owned it, I believe, was, I think it was Greg's sister or,
Uh-huh, yeah,
Somehow.
Greg Putin?
yeah.
Okay, because I thought Greg
Maybe-
Deegan,
Maybe the airport too. I mean,
yes, they
people
have.
go by, they're
I mean,
Part of the
I would think
airport,
it'd
that's
make
the
Kissel
airport,
Inn
that's
or
part of the
something,
airport,
you know,
it's
like,
part of-
just a
Right
little,
there, yeah.
you know, like an
It's little.
Airbnb in a sense where it's like, I would wanna sleep there, you know, like
Yes.
for driving by so many times, you
Well,
know,
it's
the
funny,
fun
because
rent
we were
it.
saying, it should be discouraged from public use, because do you have to do things that maybe you guys know? Do you have to put up a wheelchair ramp? Do you have to make the doors extra wide for wheelchair accessibility? Do you have to make the bathrooms like that? What
If it's a
about the
public use
upstairs?
building, then it would have to have handicapped
And
access.
would that be bed and breakfast? Would that be
No, it's
necessary?
private.
It
Well,
is?
See, but if the Airbnb though, that's in that like gray land where it's like
Or just
not
a bed and
technically,
true bed and breakfast
Yeah.
though, if someone bought, we just kind of shied away from that. For that, it's also zoned to be agricultural residential, which can be used for education and nonprofit, but would have to be rezoned if it were gonna get public use, but you guys probably can tell me more than,
I mean, I would rather see it be
Private.
non-occupied personally, but
like a lighthouse, because we also
Yeah.
looked into could we
like the
find
friends
stewards.
like the Friends of the Lighthouse down the
Yeah.
island and like that, yeah. So it's maybe, I mean, primarily, I think what the goal is to keep the house standing and have it be paintable.
Yeah,
Painted and paintable.
yes, yes. And believe me, getting so close to it, seeing what Bill Barrett was doing, I was just like, look, we could just put on the clapboard, if we could just put on the new window frames, and it's tough to just be that close, and,
Yep.
but yeah, we have talked about everything from simply like a lighthouse, some lighthouses just have friends, some people have someone who lives in it.
so what about the avenue, of not transferring its ownership, just getting it changed from a house slated for demolition to a national park or a national monument? In the summertime, I go down on Governor's Island in New York, and that's a federal island down there. And, it's the Federal Parks Department, they take care of all the buildings. What's one more building?
Right, I know, and I've said that.
And if you were to get enough momentum to get it accepted, and, maybe you'll have to repair it first and hand it over or something, but I'm sure we accept buildings all over the United States to our
yeah.
Parks
is-
Department, some shack in Utah or something, is because it was somebody's something. If it's this much importance, why shouldn't it be kept on the inventory if there's enough reason to,
Well, I think that they
instead
were
of
saying
trying to
it like.
privatize it?
Well, and I would prefer that, I've gone, of course, I've had the discussions, many circular discussions of going from the lighthouse to ownership to like, why don't you guys wanna keep it? Why
Yeah.
are you building another barracks when it's right here, why can't you keep it? Are you sure there's no use for you now that you see, what if we wrote a check earmarked for that? What if we made a donation? What if, we got everybody to supply materials? Well, what if we had volunteers who waived you of all rights, who were licensed, who would, I've tried everything. That answer kept being no. They say that we are not in the business of homes, if anything, it's more demolishing homes. Yet, I know that the Department of Interior is interested in preserving, and they are above the Fish and Wildlife, which is really the owners. I think that would be something I would continue to look into, because that's also another thing, that what would happen if the land trade didn't work. And we hear that the current administration is doing a lot of cutting of that type of revenue. Changing the landscape a little bit with,
Reach out to Melania.
Yeah, right, I know, that there's, you know what I mean, that there's kind of the idea that parks and things might be a little less
I
sacred.
could see Barbara
and-
Bush going for it. I mean,
Yeah,
you know,
that's
like,
right, you know, so, you
takes a
know.
village.
It
Just
does.
a
So I mean, that's what, you know, Kate from Markey's office said, you know, things have really changed in the last 2 years in terms of funding and dollars, which also can always change again, you know, you don't know, but that was something I hadn't considered. And just, so anyway, but I still think that every no can turn into a maybe, can turn into a yes, you know? I would
Oh,
love
wearing
that.
them down.
Yes, it is, with a smile and a positive,
We all learned that
well-meaning
as
attitude.
youth.
Yes, so, I like that idea. Do you know who I would even go to begin exploring that? You're saying the Parks Department, is that the same as the
I don't know.
US Fish and
I
Wildlife? Okay,
don't know.
but I'll look into that, it's on
Fish and
Governor's
Wildlife
Wildlife.
is different.
Mhm.
It's a different branch
Yes, the Parks
than
Department.
Parks, than
Yeah.
Parks and Recreations or,
Yeah,
you know, it's not, so. The best,
Find an example of what they have done somewhere else in the United States.
Mhm.
I mean, we propped one of the, the wildlife lodges out in Colorado. We supplied them with the antiques for the restoration. So, it can be done. You'll have to work on it, but it's trying to
They
find
went that far that they even wanted stuff for that, like for the interior.
Yeah.
Wow.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Is there any, forgive my ignorance, is there anything you guys are, and this is not, oh, she had a pitch and she's now, this is actually just completely honest, is there anything that you see of value as the historical commission? Would this ever be something that if we, I'm not talking about money, cause I understand that aspect of it, I'm talking just, could you have something where you would take on some part of helping restore this? Do you guys only take things and try to register them as like state registered, nationally registered, or do you say, hey, here's a house that could qualify in many ways as historic, it's almost 100 years old, it has significance to the community? Is there something that with your own mission or what purpose you guys serve that would be interested in doing something with this somehow?
We can help. We're pretty limited. We're just a board of volunteers that meets 1 hour a month. We have no staff, we have no budget. We are in the process of listing the antique houses in town. And we are currently in the learning process of registering with the state the antique houses in town. And we are on a learning curve with federal, national registry of antique houses and anything else in the town that needs to be listed. So we're working on it. As far as anything else, we already have one building. We have the schoolhouse on the Southern Green,
Okay.
and we have a full slate once a month, and we can't keep up with what we're doing.
Okay, I wasn't sure,
So,
I've
but-
never come with an ask of any kind, I came with
Yeah.
like a here's what's going on. But I don't wanna be so stupid as to not say, do you have any, does this in any way fit in with what your, goals are? And, cause we are here with, 3,500 volunteers or potential volunteers to help or to tap on for funding, and I understand everyone is like, oh, we don't have any money. So we understand that, Jeremy, we
Well,
are
'cause-
like, I am
Yeah,
like,
because
okay,
we're
roll
actually
up my
part of the
sleeves.
town government, we're
Yes.
not like a historical society that might have like the
Fundraising
HIS does
parties.
in Newbury and Port, and they fundraise, they have lectures, things
Sure.
like that to pay
Yeah.
mostly for the house and
I
restoration.
think people, all these
Yeah.
people are just dying to like, just get
Well,
something going
I
so they
think
can
the
get
point is we wouldn't be against it.
Yeah.
You know,
That's good to
I mean, we wouldn't fight trying to help if they will release it to a certain point,
Yeah,
then there's no reason why, that some inventory work can be done, and we do, when we're saying inventory, it's for the, like the Mass Historical Commission, is all the houses are considered inventory.
okay.
So, I mean, they worked, at one point, they were trying to get the airport on the National Registry. We have a National Historic Registry District, which is the Upper Green in Newbury, And, it is part of Newbury, and it is at this point, it's becoming quite the historic landmark of itself. So, I mean, if it got to the point where they would release it, or if the feds would want it to be able to, would let it be protected, then we can work to try to get the paperwork to make it a National Historic Registry building.
Am I right that you have to do state registration first?
Yes.
And then go for national, and state registration can take a couple years?
Yeah.
Only the person that owns the property can do it.
Okay,
That's the hitch.
okay, state. Okay,
But if you have 3,500 followers, I would put a blast out looking for somebody that knows of another dwelling that's been saved and turned around, in
Wasn't
a
there-
wildlife preserve.
You know, you might wanna just even try sending to, historical commissions in New England.
Was there something like next to Bradley Palmer and they like leased it for like nothing for the family to renovate it? I don't know, what is that?
And you can also go on the.
I'm trying to remember.
Sure, I don't remember that.
Because I remember going there a million years and it was this old rundown
house next to
colonial.
Bradley Palmer?
It's in Topsfield, Hamilton line. And I just don't know who, like, I don't know who owns that land technically, but I remember the story being in the paper about the family, like, taking on the renovation for, like, living there or something. I don't know if they got, like, a 30-year lease for nothing to, like, renovate the property or something like that.
Well, because they have, it's the same thing with,
Maudsley?
Maudsley, yeah, they have, like, I can't remember exactly what the terminology is, but you you go to stay in the house, kind of like caretakers, but you renovate and you spend, it's your money.
Right.
Yeah.
And,
But
it's
you don't
like,
own it.
yeah, it's like a really well, but then, it's kind of like,
So you do it as a labor of
Like-
love and an
like
interesting,
stay-
like your
like-
hobby?
Yeah.
Plumbush Downs is a, I can't think of the word for that either, but they're not, you own the buildings, but you don't own the land, the same way.
Yeah, like in Asbury Grove, like you.
Like Little Neck, Great Neck.
Yeah.
You don't,
Canomo Point.
Yeah,
you do not-
Canomo, exactly.
you don't
What
own the
points?
land, you own
Canomo Point, Essex.
Canomo point.
Yeah.
so,
What do you like? You just lease the land or something? You don't.
yeah, you
Like in
own
Hawaii,
you own the
yeah.
building, but you don't own the land.
Yeah.
So you built this, $500,000 million house, but unless you're gonna plan on trying to truck it off, you don't
Can't sell
own
it,
it,
yeah.
you don't own the land, so they're very complicated, if you ask me, but in Plumbush Downs I was surprised to find it's the same way.
What about listserv? Does the public have access to listserv, the blog?
I don't know.
What is that?
It's a discussion group in between historical commissions in Massachusetts where questions can be posted.
Yeah, because my only hesitation and, about also being filmed and putting out, to 35, because it's like how people play telephones, you know what I mean? It's something like that, sometimes things can be a little harder when you put out
Yeah.
to the general public. Everyone's gonna want it to be a, breast cancer and you gotta say, well, that can't really happen because then there'd be too much, it creates more work almost. So it might be good to put out to a select group or something like this, what you're saying, so you can between
You might
historical
want,
commissions.
you might wanna put an inquiry to some of the houses, the historical commissions or historical societies in the area, cause I'm sure some of them have been saved for specific reasons. I mean, like, Amesbury probably has examples of that too, with Longfellow and,
Do you think if she went right to Macros, that they would have anyone that could walk her or point her in the right direction?
Macros, that's
it's
the
part of the Mass Historical Commission.
Mass Historical Commission.
CRIS.
Yeah, that's just the, how it's spelled, but, they were helpful to us, and we talked to a guy there.
Oh, we're a historical commission.
Exactly, I don't know
Yeah,
how we,
well,
how
let me
would
tell
they
you, I
advise.
certainly just as I started at the Blue making calls to people way back in 2015 and 2016, people from all over at least talked to me, everybody, I talked
Yeah,
to
'cause
Sally
the
Zimmerman
guy,
from
the
Monmouth,
guy that's in charge of the Historical
Preservation
Society
Trust.
in Ipswich was very knowledgeable.
Oh yeah.
He seemed to know a lot of stuff
Who was that?
What was his name?
It's on it would be on their town website, I can't think of it at the moment.
Did you say Historical Society?
Historical Commission. So if you look at the town of Ipswich,
Okay.
you will see listing for it, and it will have a contact. It's the same way you could contact us, if you go on the town website, you find Historical Commission, you can send an email.
But I probably, instead of all 3,500, you know, because I've been dying to put all kinds of questions out, and I just think, not only am I gonna be there night and day trying to answer the same question over and over and correct misinformation that then gets talked about at coffee, and, you know, just haven't wanted to hurt the process. And, but maybe I could pick some select people to, you know, put it out to.
I don't think I've read any of
Because
this
that's
stuff,
really
because I was
just
not
wow.
like to lump it in.
I wonder how I'd find out.
I
if
wonder about
it was served.
down in Florida or something, where there's so much wet, coastal areas that are restricted. I wonder if this has ever occurred in an instance down there.
Like the Keys.
Yeah.
Keys or, makes
Hemingway's
me
house
think
there.
of Bass Pro Shops and some of the stuff they do in preservation.
Gordon Harris is the town historian, and I think he was also on the board. Historical Commission board.
Dry.
isn't
I'm
he?
sorry, I wonder if they have all these
Cracking
suggestions.
up.
Gordon Harris, that sounds familiar to me.
Will all these know what school they go to?
It's our building on the south green on
Oh, yeah,
Route
yeah.
1A.
Lower Green, down
Lower
just
Green.
before you go over the Parker River.
You see the little schoolhouse there, it's open to the public.
Oh, thank you so much. That's great. Get myself
Alright.
there, I'll be free time.
We better
All
start
right,
cracking the whip
thank
here.
you, I appreciate your advice. Last question is on lead-in. If we did these deed restrictions, so I talked to some people in Newbury Port who work their historical stuff and showed them our just bit of deed restrictions. And they gave me a sample document of how there's much more body to it once you get those few. And are you familiar with that situation, that is it something that,
We usually don't write them, we approve them. It goes on the deed. So there's no physical holding, there'll be a board that accepts it, whether it's the planning board or the historical
Right.
commission.
Yeah.
it might be for here?
You need to do it with the town of Newbury, or
Okay.
the town won't recognize it.
Okay,
It needs
and
to
do
be
you know
done
anything about that? Is there like someone who I should talk to about that, who would know
The
how?
planning board, Martha
Planning
Taylor.
board,
Martha
oh,
Taylor.
I've spoken to her, she's wonderful, okay.
Because if they're not involved in the process, they won't defend it.
Great, okay.
Because they can't, really. I mean,
We just had Doug Bullock, you know, who lives in town, he's a lawyer, and his daughter wrote the New York Times article. Anyway, he helped us to begin with, and then I've gotten on this, but I didn't know what the next step was, so that's great.
Yeah.
Maybe out of your hair.
There's all kinds of different ways for preservation and deed restrictions, preservation restrictions, and it's, the only way to save anything is to actually get it put in the deed.
Yes, which is, you know, because we want to make sure that if for some reason it went to a single owner, it would have to be transferred to the next owner in perpetuity. So maybe you'll have me there, I could finally ask some questions, but I'll call Martha and see about that.
Yeah, sure,
So,
yeah, you
just
should.
leave me with these, which is about it.
If you send her an email, she's usually very good about getting back on things, and the same way, like, if you send one to me, I mean, I might be a day or two, because like, we don't have like office hours, obviously. It's only because I happen to work here too, so.
Yeah, that's right, I know, we're all volunteers.
Oh, I bumped into you at voting, I mean,
know,
yeah.
like, hey, so,
But
thank you
yeah,
so
so
much.
All right, thank
Appreciate your
you.
time.
So if
Thank
you wanna
Ideas.
send anything, like a letter, or anything like that you get information that you want us to share, if you want to share with the commission,
Yeah.
then just send it to that website where you sent the contact info, and I print everything out or forward it to the group, so.
Okay. All right, I appreciate all your
Thanks,
time and your
Michelle.
ideas,
Good
and
to
thank
see
you
you.
so much. And please, you know my email, if there's any thoughts come to you in the middle of the
Yes.
night. I will be awake.
If we
thinking
come
about
up or hear of anything, I'll shoot it out to you guys
I
on
would
your,
so
because I
appreciate
have all those contacts on there, so.
I appreciate it.
Great.
Thank you.
All right,
Have a good
good to see
night.
ya.
Bye-bye.
Let's get October's minutes meetings out of the way.
Notice they're getting shorter?
Yes.
Oh, this page two.
It's on the back. Oh, no, it's page 2, but
Yeah.
there it is. I told it to print double-sided, but it ignored me.
I see.
I entertain a motion to accept the minutes as written.
I make a motion.
Okay, Gerwin on the motion, second.
I'll second.
Eva on the second, all in favor?
Aye.
Alright, that's out of the way.
I have no treasurer's report.
Treasurer's report,
I sent him 2 emails, I forgot.
we'll do 170 Orchard last.
Correspondence, Eva, did you see the email that I forwarded from Jean?
I
Yeah.
did see it.
I was gonna say Eva's like the only person because I do not know
did-
enough
I
information.
did see it, and I
Nancy
would look.
said she would be willing to team up with you, but
Oh,
she hadn't
sure.
had a chance to talk to you
Right.
yet, so.
Right, and that was my concern, that I wouldn't be able to fulfill
All
our
of it?
obligation. Right. And genealogy can be a long, really time consuming
I can
ordeal.
imagine.
And the woman who used to do it, she was really familiar with that archival room.
So Barbara,
Yeah, and I'm not. A lot of the genealogy in there that I'm not used to using.
I know.
But
I
if
feel like
somebody, if
it's just like
we
be in
could,
there and learn.
yeah, and how I was wondering how many queries they get. You know, like, do they get a lot of them? They could.
She said, didn't she say in the email it was only a couple, like 2 a month or something like that?
Oh, that's all?
I thought that's what it said. I could be wrong. I know nothing about genealogy, so I kind of skipped over it. But
I feel like that room is like underutilized.
Yes, I
she
think
said
we should
they
utilize.
asked,
I think
We
we
should
should
have our meetings
we
there
should.
and like learn it.
because we could help them
Yeah.
at the same time. We could be putting away new materials. We could be going through.
Well, like
and
I want to
deciding-
do, like I want to like spearhead scanning images and putting them on a hard drive, and it's like I feel like that should be done in there
There's
because
a lot
it's
that should be
like I don't
done
want
there.
to be moving things. It's like it should make sense to just keep them there.
Yeah.
But I don't know if there's like a scanner. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm like.
Or
how
to
do we
make
do that?
decisions on what's kept and what isn't.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, that room is just underutilized. Every time I walk by, there's nobody in there.
You bring that up, we're struggling to have meetings places.
Right.
But I don't know why we can't do it there. You know what I mean?
We're all town,
well, part of the reason
we're all
we have
we're all
a
special
problem
town
with
employees.
this, it has to be
Open.
open to the public, which means then we have to
so
jam the door open so that people
Right.
can get in.
right,
Yeah,
and the
I guess
days that they're not
That's
open.
why we have a problem with that. The only other way we could kind of override that a little maybe would be if we meet in that, there's a big table right there before you get to the desk,
Yeah.
which is like right opposite, you know, when you walk in and there's all that
All the
stuff.
newspapers?
Yeah,
Like the
there's
newspaper
a big
area?
long table right there. If we met right there for part of the evening or
So,
whatever,
yeah,
we would
see.
hear people
It's true.
and then so we could still be going like back and forth possibly, but
That's a
we'd
good
have to
idea.
work on that, I guess.
I don't even, I'm not even familiar with
I
their
think we ought
hours.
to at least try that.
The hours are ridiculous.
Yeah, well, that's just it. There's
Because it's
times
volunteer, I
where-
get it, but it's like the most weird hours.
But we could use those.
Yeah.
For what we need to do. I'm not familiar with all the genealogy that's in there, and I don't know how it's indexed, which is
If it
the
even
big.
is.
That's
If
just
it is
it.
even.
Because
Exactly.
I know that Barbara really knew,
Where everything was,
and,
yeah.
and she was doing it for years, and so. But if Nancy's willing, I'd certainly hook up with her and decide. You know, I don't think there's a real time crunch on it.
Well, I would think
because it
like
is a
somebody emails
volunteer.
you, then you say, all right, well, I need a week to get back to you, and then you just get back to them in a week.
This is what she said, just so you can remember, because it was like 3 weeks ago or whatever. She's trying to come up with a point person, because we don't have, and they don't have a genealogist or
Right.
anything, an archivist even on staff, so, that Barbara Rogers has been doing it since her father died. Her father was like, he was like the male version of
They
this
gave
one.
me her number when I started looking into my house, so
Yeah,
I have
so-
it on posted on my fridge.
She said, if somebody would have time or willingness to call back patrons, so she takes down their phone numbers and questions, and Barbara would call back at her convenience, or we can email, which works better, which is true, it will, you know, it's easier than trying to connect sometimes with
Right.
people. She said it's no more than a dozen times a year,
Oh, see, yeah, I think that's manageable, very manageable.
Yeah.
so.
And what I wondered too is if Robert was doing work, was it from the town library, or were they working with the Sons and Daughters? The Sons and Daughters is its own, and Barbara was the head of
Inquiries
that.
at the library,
And,
right?
and they keep a lot of their holdings, I think, are in there. All that stuff was Sons and Daughters. So I didn't know if it was just a library thing or if it was a Sons and Daughters group thing.
Interesting.
Don't volunteer too much information when we're on camera, okay?
Good point, we should have shut that. Okay. No, I know.
But
I
But
think,
because Sons and Daughters,
so,
I'm not a member. I mean,
so I'm not
You can
sure,
direct them
but
there if that's,
you know, if you,
that's
if
what the
you,
information is.
or Nancy have any kind of, you know, a talking relationship with Barbara, find out, just ask
or we
what
could
she
direct them
was,
if they.
what she was doing, what she was doing, how she was
I
doing
don't.
it.
I've never met Barbara.
So the.
But I would be willing to help Nancy.
So the inquiries that come through the library should come through email, and should come through our central email address. And even though there'll be a couple people looking at them, I think they should go out as a group email and make sure that in the subject line, you know, Pearson Family Archives or something.
Yeah.
So make sure whatever the query is in the subject line, the name.
Mhm.
Whatever-
Right, and then,
whatever
then
they're
all of
looking
us
for.
could have a
Right.
shot at.
Somebody might know
Helping
something.
us.
So anybody in the group can shout out at any point.
I do
That
have.
makes sense.
I do have quite a bit at my house too. That
Yeah,
other
you
people
have
may not
books.
have.
Yeah.
Books are in
Yeah.
CDs that
And-
are
and-
available at the library.
And the first thing, places we ought to angle people, at least to early history, is the 3 or 4 books on Newbury and Byfield.
Definitely.
And I know we've always had the
And the
goal to
website.
make sure those were listed on our website. And I don't know if we haven't gotten that far, but Elwell and the other books
What do you mean, we haven't gotten what far?
got as far as the names of the prime
Listing.
suspect books for researching.
They're on our 1635 website.
That's what it said, I thought that.
And they're
Yeah.
they're
They're all-
downloadable.
Right.
Okay.
I read the Elwell one.
It almost
That way.
maybe there should be some kind of reference on the library page to have anybody with questions look at those first
Yeah. Start
before
here.
they get start here
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
But I'll talk with Nancy about that.
Yeah.
I'd love to help. I just didn't know how much I could commit, and I didn't know how much it was going to be.
Because those
But
are
I'll talk to her.
big, dense books with indexes. Because I do the Moody research on them all the time. There's a lot in those books.
The 2 couriers, who's the other guy with the C name?
Coffin.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
And
there's
then
Smith,
Elwell.
there's Elwell,
Elwell.
there's a
But I
there's a
mean,
lot.
to me, the biggies would be those 4, the 2 courier books, the Elwell information, that book, and who you just said to me 5 seconds ago, who I can now remember. No,
Coffin.
Well, the 2 Courier books are actually Newburyport. The double volume Couriers are Newburyport, but Courier also does 2 for Newbury, Old Newbury and Sketches of Old Newbury
Yeah.
or something. But the 2 volume set is actually Newburyport.
but it goes back to when it was,
No.
one of them is called Newburyport and West Newbury, I thought.
Yeah, there's a Courier one that is called that, but then there's a separate double volume set.
Well, yeah, but, I mean, and we have the stuff at the town hall for when people, the
Right.
same things, we have those books.
But I think if the library said to start here first.
Yeah.
And Leslie just gave me handwritten lists of births, deaths, and marriages that,
From
I don't know how far back, but I have them in the car, I was gonna bring them in.
just, do you know how
I-
current?
she just said, do you want these, and or else we're throwing them out, cause
Yeah.
they're just, well, they're
And you were like,
handwritten.
yes, I'll take them.
No, cause like, say you decided to go do something, you started writing pages of all these things out of the big books.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
right.
it's good for like reference, cause I was thinking maybe you wanna just, throw them down the schoolhouse or something.
Most, well,
Cause so
online,
many
you can only
people
go
end
to
up come down
1850.
there.
We're only published online to 1850. So if you've got a list that's beyond that,
Yeah.
priceless.
I have no idea.
Without having to go to the town halls,
They're in the,
you know.
they're in the car.
really, yeah.
Interesting.
I found another very interesting resource just recently came through the antique shop is early phone books. I thought it was just a curiosity until I went online and found out how much they're sought after by genealogy research companies.
Yeah.
Yeah, since they stopped making directories.
So
Well, one
any
of the
those-
things that I gave you guys is how to do research
Yeah.
on,
That was one of the things.
it has a list of different things that, you wouldn't normally think about. I mean, it's even things, you know, simple things that we used to take for granted that we don't do
Yeah.
anymore. And if it isn't out there somewhere, it's
true.
nowhere.
So if anybody in our viewing audience has pre-1950s phone books, we'd love to have them for
Wouldn't be
genealogy
surprised.
research
Go
of
to
the
some of these
Newbury
houses.
area, or even house research. I think that'd be
Yeah, like
nifty.
addresses, all this stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I love the old directories.
So,
Interesting.
Because they really, the old ones really get into it. Because there was no place else to look,
Yeah.
you know, so everything's in there.
alright, so that's the first steps of the genealogy, and maybe another step with meeting, a place to meet in the front window of the library if we can set that up. DDB notification, building inspector, or 2 Old Road governors, that's the house, 2 Old Road, that's the house we walked.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And now
So-
we have 2 more.
Okay, so I have signed 2 Old Road for what we discussed,
Yep.
basically dividing the house, not altering the outside, et cetera, et cetera. So that's a done deal. You said you got 2 more?
At Dummer?
No.
Oh.
Across the street from there,
From his house?
no, from the 170,
Yep.
is 171, which is actually listed as 173. You know, you have the little log cabin down here,
Yep.
and then there's like a house and another house, and now they've just started clearing
Yes.
that area,
Those are all, that's modern.
because they're going to,
I used to be a
Demo
hairdresser's shop when I was a kid.
That's the Vulgaris hairdresser.
Yeah.
yeah, so that's gonna go.
Okay.
So those are both those are modern houses,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I'll
It's,
sign off on those.
1951. Okay, so. What picture, this picture? Okay, and then last but not least, which just hit the airwaves today, more or less, is 1 Marshmeadow Lane. This is the bond thing. Remember the bond
Yes.
thing?
Yep, they're gonna
Yep.
take it away and bring it
Okay.
back, yep.
So what they're gonna do is,
Take it away?
I had it written
Well,
down.
because
That's what
That's
it
a
said.
crap phone.
what they're going to do is they're going to take apart, this is this barn restoration
Yep.
group in New Hampshire.
Is that really a road? Is that like really a way?
Yeah, it's
It
right
is.
across the street from Maple.
I
I don't
googled
know,
it. I could get Nancy's
You know what,
house.
But
I
it's-
didn't know, it's where
because
that
it's
even
Marsh
stride
Meadow
horse
Lane-
farm is,
Lane.
and then it cuts right
Yep.
over to the Governor Dummer, the governor's, yeah.
say again?
It's at the Even Stride Farm,
Yeah,
which is the
that's,
horse farm, it goes straight across.
but the straight across is Maple.
It becomes,
It's on the other side of
yes.
Orchard, it's Maple.
Well, where did it go?
Marsh Meadow Lane
Yep.
is where Damon lives, Jesperson.
But what I'm saying is, the sign is right there on Orchard Street where the horse farm is, and that's nothing else beyond that, is there?
Yeah,
You
there's
can
a-
go down there?
yeah, that's
I thought it was
where,
all horse
that's
farm.
Marsh Meadow
Pardon
Lane.
me.
Oh, all right. Now
Okay,
it
so
is.
there's at least 2 houses down there, cause
Oh,
I've
so it's way in the
I've
back.
driven it, and on the way home, I drove it again.
So is it like a cul-de-sac, you come back around?
No,
Where does it come out?
it doesn't.
So you gotta turn around.
Bingo.
Okay.
What's the date size, history
Okay.
name on the barn?
Yeah, the barn is old, it's well over 150 years old or something to that effect. So, but what the question was in the email,
Year built,
Right.
1850s,
that's the build, the house. We're not doing the house.
Oh, okay.
Just the barn, right?
Because the way thing read, I was like, what? So there is, here's Marsh Meadow Lane,
Okay.
okay? It comes in, this would be Orchard, and it comes in and goes around, and
Is
goes
that the
through.
horse barn there? Must be.
No, the horse farm, I believe
Oh, it's in the
is way down.
Yeah, yeah.
This is, the house and the barn.
Okay.
This little L section here is what's coming off.
Mm-hmm.
They're taking it apart. They're going to take the entire barn apart, take it to New Hampshire,
And reassemble it.
reassemble it, and repair it with the lumber that's in the L. I just
So the L won't be there anymore.
So wait, and then they're gonna
Because
chuck
we're-
it back? Like,
This is what,
Amazing, huh?
okay, so
I've never heard of that.
I can,
what, did they take it away and then it's just
I
gone
can
forever?
email
Or they
anybody if they
And then
want,
they
if they
decide
wanna
at the
see
end,
these,
oh,
but
okay, so
this
this
is all
got
I,
done. Yeah.
this is all I got, 'cause Jennifer just put them up right before I left today, so,
Now, can
these
I
are-
assume this is a new owner, correct?
no, Jesperson's on it.
Oh, all right.
That's a big
I thought I
barn.
saw somebody
Don't
else's
forget-
name
Oh,
on
nice barn,
the
yeah.
website. I
Someone
thought they
insisted on
sold it.
putting the camera on.
Okay.
It's his fault. Can we just rewind and delete this? Video editing software.
We have nothing to do.
It's a nice, it's a beautiful barn.
Who's that? Who's the one who sent the email?
I don't know where she is, she
Oh,
lives
okay.
there,
Say
she's,
how many
but,
stories it is?
Wow,
What?
I have to go down.
These
there.
two.
So you can
It's
see
tall.
it when you drive by, you
These,
saw
that's what
it?
I'm saying.
Two and a
Maybe
half.
they're-
These
about-
two, it could be,
Two and a
talking
half
about-
is a window
right,
at
'cause
the
it's-
peak.
Yeah.
like you
Because
was,
it
it's
could
not
be
even
on
as
your
far
side.
in as
That's
we're
true,
from the
yeah.
hallway
It's like-
at the
When I
stairs.
looked down that road, I always thought that was the
Really?
house barn, but it's
Yeah.
not. Okay, so
I'm so
that's the
jealous
house.
of good barns.
I know, me too. Well, it sounds like a ambitious project.
Yeah.
for
So
sure.
the building, the thing that shows up on the DDB is, remove the L part of the barn, existing timbers from said part to be used to rehabilitate existing barn and restore to,
There's no more? Okay.
It's a lot of effort. I would think that you would just take
So-
down the L part and just restore it on
I'll
site.
tell you
but that's-
something, I've
Well,
seen
these
so many
boards and
barns,
fix the barn.
Yeah.
It's-
I've seen so many barns go in Byfield, that were there when I was a kid, they just
Sure.
let them fall apart. and they tear
apparently
them down,
this
so
was
is nice.
restoring the barn was supposedly part of some development, and some development was made. It was part of the agreement
Oh.
that they had to agree to get this restored.
Okay, alright,
That's all I know so far.
so,
Unless it's
So like,
unrestorable,
so like,
when you
see
look at
this
it.
one,
Yeah.
this piece here is not part of the original barn, it was added
Right,
on.
right.
So the original barn is what you see,
Is what is being restored.
when you get around the corner just a little bit. The house is like here, and you can see where the barn is, so, yeah,
so
it's
the
huge.
demolition permit is just for the L.
Yeah,
There is no demolition permit for the main structure.
right, apparently they're disassembling it and then restoring it, I'm not really quite
I
sure.
don't understand why they
However-
wouldn't do it right there.
That's what I
Why
mean.
would you take it away?
Big pockets.
I don't know.
I don't know
Is
either,
it-
but
is it-
this is what these people do,
Okay.
apparently.
Can we hear about those people?
Yeah, I'd
Who's
like to
the
look
art?
those people up.
We have documents from the architects and documents from
It's-
the company?
Called the Antique Barn Company LLC. They're in Orford, New Hampshire. It's Donald at antiquebarns.net. It's on the back of this, so. This is the demolition, this is the the building permit, which building permits show if there's a request for
I
demolition.
just wish more people.
I spoke with the lady
I
today
know.
whose name was on the email, Alexa. And I told her that we would be looking, cause she assured them that we knew all about it. Said, well, not really, we got an email that
That was
said,
it.
we're looking for do's and don'ts. But she hadn't even given me the address until I asked her for it. So, I spoke to her, we have her email address now, and, I told her that depending on what was gonna really happen, because what I was hearing was they were taking the barn down, but now I'm hearing they're leaving the barn. So this is what they submitted. Looking to have an old barn restored in Byfield to be used for storage. We would need it to be repaired and to be structurally sound, tight to weather, removal of the L addition and perhaps groundwork around the structure. I have actual photos for doing, is this something you'd be interested in? This is what she sent to the gentleman who does this barn work.
Right.
And these are the pictures that she sent, which, it's on the, permalink, the permit link.
Yeah.
And I printed them, but I also saved it, so I can, email it if anybody wants.
So
Wants to,
email
yeah.
her back, and I'm sure a project of this caliber has a plan, proposal.
Well, this is what they've submitted so far to Sam.
Okay, well, they can continue.
Alright, so I'm losing my mind here. Which road is that?
Marsh
Cause that's where,
Meadow.
when I do it, it goes to this.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't make any
No,
sense.
that's the problem.
It went to Nancy's house every time I tried it. Cause she's on Marsh Ave, but I
Right.
Right?
was like, wait a minute, that's Nancy's house.
That's Maple.
Oops.
I did like 3 times, I couldn't get it.
Well, it could be that it's like, it's
It's
hidden on
hidden.
there.
I think it's maybe a private road.
That's why, yeah, cause
It's
that
not-
doesn't
we don't
show
plow
up.
it- We don't plow it, so it may be a
No?
private road.
Well, I didn't even know there was a
Sounds
name of
like,
it, I only
in
see
there,
a sign that
Marsh.
says Even Stride Farm.
It
and
literally
then I
looks
looked up,
like
I saw it,
literally
Marsh
like-
Meadow.
Yeah, no, I just
Right
thought
where
it
the
was,
corner is here, there's
yeah,
a
just
corner
that
here,
far.
and it comes
Yeah.
right through, and then Maple goes that
I'm
way.
gonna have to go drive around and check it out.
It's so easy when you go to, if you know,
Yeah.
I mean, we can go right by it on the way home. I went on the way home tonight, just to see what it looked like.
I always wanna drive past
Still
places
is.
like that, cause it's like,
So-
you never see it.
Yeah.
Before
I
we
thought
sign
that
anything,
that
I
lady
wanna
who
see
sent the
more from an
email was the
architect,
Yeah.
the contractor.
Well, I want like proof that they're gonna repair, like bring it back, like that's my whole thing.
So I
Take it
told
down
her
and
that
take it down,
because
but you
it
need to
was
prove.
so old, and it could be considered a significant structure, that we would be involved, and may need to come out and look at it, and we have to sign off on the permit. So she said that, if we have any questions, to contact her. So,
Contact her, we wanna see
Yeah.
the contractor, documents from the builder.
I would think all that stuff could be easily emailed to us.
you think, so that the guy didn't know how to use a computer.
Oh.
Okay. Oh, I learned so much sitting across from. Where the heck did my, thing just go? It's like my ears are all-
I'm shedding myself.
My Graves' disease, so it's like that all the time. I feel like one of those commercials.
What did we lose?
That.
My
Oh, your
place,
notes.
my place for notes.
The next time I go down Orchard Street, I'm driving down there.
Well, we can have a field trip tomorrow and snow. We could make a snowman at the
do that.
corner of the street so you
And
can
do you really
find
think
it.
we're gonna get a lot of snow?
No,
Right?
not here.
So plans, documents, and contract from the builder. and plans from their architect.
I would be willing to bet there is no architect.
I would hope so.
Well, this is what we're asking for.
Yeah, I would hope so.
And send that off and we'll preview it at our next meeting.
Well, we have to do something on the permit link.
There's a button that says hold.
Is that? I don't have all these things pictured and memorized in my head. Stop looking at me like that. I can go downstairs and look on the way home. I have the key. I can get in.
Well, ask Sam. We want more information.
So the date this thing was done was Tuesday, because I was sitting there listening to this guy as I was trying. Because he had no clue how to start the thing at all. It was kind of amusing. So you can have that one if you want. That's what you're gonna see on the thing. Yep. Anybody else need one? One good. So the information for the restorer is on the back of that. Under 5.1 supervisor information at the top corner,
Yeah.
top right. That would be rather right. So I was gonna Google them, but I didn't have time. So I wanna look at this antiquebarns.net, so.
Okay, alright,
Okay.
so that's that.
So that was a surprise. Surprise!
Alright, any other business before we look, 170 Orchard, anything else? Okay.
I don't think so.
So, 170 Orchard is before us. This is the Highfield Farm property where the Longfellow house used to stand. It is an application for open space residential development, special permit for its proposed Forge Village.
Forge
Referring to the village Smitty, which we found to be incorrect. Remember I reported that 6 months
That's right.
ago.
It
Yeah,
wasn't, that's not in Byfield,
okay.
it was someplace else.
What's not in there?
The Village Smithy, you know, the poem you wrote,
Longfellow's poem.
Yeah,
wasn't
yes.
Bummer.
Actually, we found that out when what's his name was here. Brendan.
I brought that.
Yeah, but he was still on the board then, on the commission.
Okay.
So it was a little more than a year ago.
Okay.
Probably has 2 children now. Just saying. So this was the former Bulgaris farm, is that what you said?
Yes,
Just checking.
Bulgaris cornfield and apple orchard.
still is, isn't it? Are they still on your houses there? Yeah.
So,
It was already subdivided prior, is from what I understood.
Is this
It's
that,
the
It's
development
been-
of it,
Is this
It's
Pearson
been-
Drive? Is that what that is?
Right before the,
yeah,
Yeah.
it's right before you get there.
yeah, cause you can see the big.
Yeah.
the Bulgaris family broke it up. The apple orchard is not on the subdivision plan.
Okay.
The apple orchard is, if you're facing the end of the proposed driveway, the apple orchard is that chunk on the left, which goes down to the stream.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
Let's see, the other thing is like,
Is it,
the other one.
I don't know how,
The other one we were just talking
Oh.
about, the demo, it's just kind of weird.
is it supposed to be like that cluster housing, or is it
it's
individual
clustered,
homes?
the
It is.
plan, they put them all together.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
So they did what I was under the impression of is you're gaining your frontage from the road, so it's gonna be a town road. But if we look at the plans,
Did they give you plans too?
Yeah, they gave us everything because it came from Martha from planning. So planning plans.
You're like, I know you enter here, but like, why are we driving all? Like, what's the purpose of having all of this if they're not planning on building past here? You know what I'm saying?
It's part of the future.
That's what I'm saying. If they're planning on.
Yeah.
Well, whoever the builder is, they probably own all that property right now, they're only building this. And what's this? Oh, parking?
Those are all these are all plans probably.
No, what's this?
This right here.
Yeah,
Unless this no, because I mean size wise, maybe this is just a
It's
path
not
to
on
get
this.
near the water.
right, and this looks like an apple orchard,
It's not
so
on
maybe.
this.
Yeah, maybe they're
it could be
adding
trail.
more trees.
Yeah, or a
I
trail.
like
It's
it.
just a
Big
trail.
cul-de-sac, the big cul-de-sac's not on it, it must be a trail.
Well, I like that better. I mean,
Yeah.
the scale it seems much smaller than for
Right.
cars,
And
so
is this some?
because that
What
leads
is
down
the
by the
thing right
water.
at the end?
Which one
After
is that?
the circle.
Exhibit C, we gotta keep,
It looks like a
I
patio.
wanna keep these.
It doesn't show it.
Are they doing a sewage treatment plant or anything in there? That would be.
That's gonna be some sort of patio.
Parking.
Is that parking really? That's awful if that's true.
Well, it's odd, it's a,
The townhouses, right? It looks like townhouses to me. Maybe just single families.
Yield plan.
Extra parking? Oh, so maybe if you wanna walk the trail? Oh, this is good.
I hate when they give you tiny little pictures.
But I'm not seeing it here. This is surrounded by wetlands,
So good, maybe it's just a path.
buffer zones.
it doesn't,
Makes sense.
It's interesting, so they did get the 50 feet for the driveway. They didn't have that before, they must have bought that.
Ah.
The
Next
right of way
person
was
over.
only, the right of way was only 10 feet wide last time I walked it.
Seriously?
really.
And so ironically, because of the way this is designed, because of where they got this from, this is the other thing we were talking about.
That's the 3 buildings.
Yeah.
Was
On
it
the other-
two to be demolished or 3?
Just the one, the one that was the hairdressers, so it's, I think it's, that's the
It's just
middle one,
what's
right?
left.
It is? Okay, you know better than I do.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's just funny, it's like this place is suddenly a hotbed of activity.
So the houses would just.
That's all the same home.
Protect the
Well, that
wetlands.
explains that.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Two
which one's
specimen
which?
chestnut trees were identified
Concept
during the
plan.
site analysis and were
Eastern
incorporated into the
survey.
design
Oh,
as
that's
feature
nice.
trees to be protected. I'd like to hear that.
Yeah, this check is done a lot of
Chestnut
them.
trees, yeah, I know it.
So which one's this?
Wish I had a chestnut tree. Enough acorns and.
No, you don't,
Hickory
I
nuts
have a horse chestnut tree in my
Yeah.
front yard.
Do you?
Yes, yeah.
They can
It's
eat
probably
those?
100 years old,
No, you-
that tree right
You
in front of
can't,
me.
but you can make a wonderful salad out of it.
Interesting.
Horse chestnuts?
She's got
Yes.
tons of them.
For,
I'll sell them to you. I give them to
I
you
used
free,
to,
never
I used to
mind.
make, I used to make it for my mother-in-law.
The only good thing
How do you
about it
do
was
it?
when I was
Boil
a
it or
kid,
something?
we were the ones who, we were the ones,
oil and.
yeah. We were the ones in my family that
Yeah.
we had the weapons, but that was my tree.
Well, I was gonna say.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we're looking
Slingshots.
at the
We
kids,
used to,
yeah.
yeah, make necklaces.
Yeah.
But they tighten the vein structure.
It doesn't
of your
say,
leg.
yes, horse chestnut,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
have some of that cream, didn't do anything.
So for
You should be taken internally too,
Oh, I didn't know that.
and it works. My mother-in-law,
Really?
she was on crutches, she used crutches for like 75 years of her life.
Did you put that cream
And
in?
and she was taken internally too.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I remember throwing back the blanket, you know,
The
even chair and
50
saying,
feet
hey,
on this
I
plan
haven't seen my
Yeah.
ankles in 50 years.
is showing,
See,
You know, the
is
only thing I
showing on
noticed about it, I
this.
still have an extra bottle of it, because I never finished it, it's staying.
50 feet, like 10-foot
Tan. It
driveway.
was almost like a fake tan, wherever I put it. Maybe it's
Sure
just
was
the
a
brand.
black walnut.
So that-
Yeah.
No, it was
50?
horse
Black
chestnut.
walnut.
That-
Yeah.
that-
Then still only the
Because
10 foot driver.
my
Is that
size
gonna be able to
came out
get
beautiful
like
yellow.
trucks and stuff through
And
there?
I
Because that's to be
even
town,
yellow.
town
Yeah.
road, town road
Yeah.
has to be,
From, I
has
guess,
to be,
But the
50 feet from curb to curb.
I was gonna say, right? Yeah.
Make it out of
They're
it.
gonna have to talk about that then.
I never knew that.
Because you're not gonna be able to get, you know, school buses and or fire trucks and stuff down there.
It's,
You have to have a cul-de-sac.
This could be the one that says existing conditions, site map analysis.
You know what that is? It's a victory garden with a center gazebo. That's what it is.
Oh, nice.
Yep, that will
Reading the
provide a
descriptions
central gathering space
Why
between the
would we wanna do
development and
that?
the rear portion of the site.
Huh?
Where
Why
natural
would we wanna
areas
do
will be
that?
enjoyed via a trail
Remember.
system.
Yeah.
Excellent. I don't know who's, I've never heard of these people, I don't know who these people.
Yeah, does it say who the developer
Yeah, I
is?
just see, this came from a law office, but I don't know who's the,
Interesting.
Pollinator Meadow landscape design,
well, you know something?
landscape elements,
If they have-
KD Turner
They're gonna
design.
do it anyway, I'm glad they're doing it in this form.
Victory
They're
Garden.
gonna, and it's gonna have stone walls, they're preserving the stone
Yeah.
walls, chestnut trees.
Do they say like what the price point is for these
I haven't
things?
seen that yet, no.
Not any of the stuff I've looked at so far.
You know what I mean? It's gonna be one of those situations where they have to do like 10% or 20%
Representative
low.
architectural styles.
You know what I
Right,
mean?
you'd think they would have to include so
It
much.
says each
Affordable
house lot will
housing.
exceed
Stand
5,000 square feet
stormwater
with a minimum 50-foot
management
frontage
plan.
along the 920-foot cul-de-sac. The lots and buildings will be situated to comply with whatever, consistently with the density bonus provision. The applicant is proposing 15 units representing a 1-unit bonus over the 14-unit conventional plan. I don't know why.
When was this subdivided? How many years ago did they actually subdivide it?
it was in court when he was still alive, so probably 10 years ago.
Yeah. But 50-foot frontage along the road,
Yeah.
what's it now? What do you need, 145?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Good question.
But if he did it before they changed, yeah, that's why he did.
Single-family homes.
It's
they're not
proposed
towns.
to
So
develop
that's
the
I'm wondering.
the
Okay.
site into
Says,
15 single-family house lots to be accessed by a new cul-de-sac having a total length of 920 feet. The proposed subdivision is being presented in accordance with Chapter 112 of the Newbury Code, Open Space Residential Development, and will result in the preservation of some 15.13 acres, which is 73% of the site. Dwelling lots are proposed to exhibit the following dimensional characteristics, and they give them lot area, lot frontage setbacks, 20-foot setback, side and rear is 10, frontage is
50 feet,
50
right?
feet
Yeah.
minimum.
The
So,
Charing Cross,
Charing,
they're the builders. And then it says the design is KD Turner, the design landscapers, so they're, sounds like they're doing a
KD
little.
but yeah, it looks nice. I
It
mean,
does, it looks nice.
If you're gonna
And
do
and
it,
you're not even gonna see it, not from Orchard Street.
no, and you're leaving that open space, you're
Yeah.
having a nice trail through it.
Exactly. Saving 73% of it is open land, I think.
It's a trail for who though?
Yeah.
For
The
people.
private residents of the street. Yeah.
But not
Whoever
if
owns
it's
the
a public,
land,
if it's
I
a
guess.
public road, they can't.
That's true.
But who's the,
Where do you park?
Yeah.
That's the question.
Yeah.
But-
Well, you could walk through.
Right around the happy,
but who's the space for is my point. If
What space?
you can't just go down there and walk your dog down there, so it's
I don't see why not.
open space area, why, it's,
Because it's
It's
their
not
land
anybody's
too.
open
I don't know how they
spaces.
do that cluster housing, do they
Yeah.
own?
it's
Does
their
the-
Who owns
open,
it?
Does
their
the
open
corporation
space.
own the land?
It's their open space, not
Yeah,
our
yeah,
open
yeah.
space.
But better open space for
But why
just
would they-
them than,
Yeah, because I mean, this is a really tiny picture, but when you look, you're like the path goes right
Exactly.
in between two
Exactly.
houses.
exactly.
See what
So-
I mean? Again,
So they,
it's
do
the tiniest
they all
picture.
have a share in
so
it?
does
Like, who
that
owns
trail
it?
that goes through Newburyport.
Well, I know, I'm
They
sure.
put fences up into people's back, on top of people's backyards, so that they can walk the trail.
Alright.
Stomping grounds.
But this
Yeah,
is,
the whole
this is
still
owned by
running
them,
there.
this is part
I
of
know. I
their,
think about that all the time. I'm like, I don't know if I'd be walking there by myself.
Jump over to that, jump on the bridge, hey, the hobo's hanging on under there. Yes. Gotta need wine.
Riff raffs. Yeah. That'd be fine.
electricity.
Nips.
Well, I can think of
But
a
they
lot
they're
worse
burn
than.
barrels.
I
They
can
have
think of
burn
a lot
barrels.
worse than-
They'll still go.
Cameras on, cameras on.
Blacksmith Circle.
I don't know, it looks like a well thought out.
I think so too.
Well, I don't, the width of the driveway still bothers me,
Well, it
because
won't.
it
Well, and this-
conflicts.
It won't pass planning or
Yeah.
zoning or,
And if it's a public road, there's only 50 foot of frontage for each house, whereas now, isn't it 125 foot of frontage per house?
But see this? This is what I'm talking about here. This is the 50 feet between
Yep.
these two lines. It says 50 feet right there. That's not showing a road of 50 feet.
Oh, no, it isn't, is it?
That's showing a 10 foot wide driveway.
So no
Yeah.
buses
is
can be
there
on
anything that
there.
exists right there? That makes those dotted lines?
That's the existing driveway there right now.
They'll have to widen that.
So is this a previous plan? Is that what this is?
Well, the town never accepted as 10 feet.
Existing
what I mean.
conditions
We'll have to-
plan.
Alright, so that's existing
Oh,
conditions.
okay, so that's
Oh,
what
so,
it
so,
is.
see the property line right through the
Yeah, that's
the
what I'm
Bulgaris
saying.
house driveway?
Ah,
Huh.
See?
wow,
That's existing conditions.
yeah,
It
so
goes right through their
they're gonna have to
driveway.
buy that?
Maybe
No,
they have.
wow.
They don't have to do stuff like this in
Oh,
some-
all right, so here it is.
And
Yeah, I see what
this is the definitive subdivision plan, site grading plan.
Hmm.
No, see, yeah, cause see, it's closer together, it's higher up.
So
It's
it's
closer
still
together.
kinda,
It's probably just giving them a variance.
Yeah,
So
I
the
know.
So it doesn't look like with that marked as wetlands now, it doesn't look like if this goes downhill from here to the
Mhm.
stream that's here.
Mhm.
It doesn't look like they're gonna be able to do anything with that. What I call the apple orchard.
Well, that's good then.
That's good.
yeah,
Because that's
The state of Louis
that's
Bulgaris.
Bulgaris' house, right?
his
The
uncle.
one that's
his
right here.
uncle. So this is the streams down here.
Mm-hmm.
That's the brown house, that's the new white house. And so they're gonna come in here, but this is listed as
Oh,
wetland
Wait a
here.
minute, this is Bulgaris' house?
That,
Or is this, I thought this was it.
no, well,
This
these-
is it, huh?
that's the one in the picture in images of the village Smitty.
Right, see, I was thinking that that was going on the other side, but it's not, huh?
So, but that is not the original Longfellow farmhouse. The original Longfellow farmhouse was way
Yeah,
back
way in the
here
back.
It was way in the
with a
back?
giant barn.
Wow.
This was like the caretaker's house
Right.
with another barn here, which burned down
Oh,
20 years ago.
I didn't
But the
realize
original
it was
Longfellow
here.
Highfield farm was back here,
Mhm.
and the sea captain carried his wife in the chair
Mhm.
from here over to the Adams house, which is,
Yeah, you probably can't see, it's over here,
It's on the other side of
Pearson Drive.
Pearson Drive.
what's his last name?
Adams.
No, the guy that lives there now.
I don't know if you can see it from there, isn't it over here? It's right.
No,
It's
it's
right, no, it's right.
That chair is
it's right
quite
at the
beautiful.
curve.
Yeah, it's,
At the museum.
it's,
Is it?
yeah, but so, see, you can't see it from here.
Right.
Wait, so what, when the house was on fire or something, he carried her over?
No, it's part of
See,
marriage,
down
right,
there.
when they
Oh.
marry.
These things here are all these houses here,
Right.
What
right?
an awkward thing,
So
carrying you in
you're
a
not
chair?
seeing,
outside of the road.
yeah, you're not
So
seeing,
the Adams house is
Why we
right
get rid of that
around
kind of
here.
it's
stuff.
like right,
Right.
It's right at the curve.
right
right
there,
there,
right?
yeah.
Cause it's set way back. It's
Yeah.
like a reddish, isn't it a reddish color?
Yeah, it's behind the trees.
Yeah, I know, I've looked at it. Cause it's one of the few houses that's on the National Register.
Oh, it's okay, so you checked it out.
It's the only.
No, we have another one, an old
Boy,
town.
I bet you those people are gonna hate it, the ones in the new White House, having a new road go right next to their,
Well, they had to have known.
oh, really? Yeah,
They just built that house.
yeah, that's true. And this was under
Yeah.
consideration for a while, huh?
Yeah, it was in court for 30 years.
Now I'm gonna have to drive down there and check it all out.
So,
Well, you kinda can't check anything, really.
Well, I know, I just wanna like see the location. Isn't that like that big
What's that? Sewer?
multi-house too? Is it right here?
The one
Yeah.
that's been for sale for a year.
No one's bought that, right?
Common
Yeah.
sewer.
No,
Yeah, that
I
one.
went through their attic, oh my God.
Really?
All the old books, I even tried to talk her into giving them to us.
What'd you do with them? Just
They're
dump them?
still in their attic.
Oh, really?
Alright, so we're under official business, still with this plan. Does any member of the board have any challenges or any discussion or anything else here? This has been sent to us for more informational and comment.
Wait, there's tons of in and out.
Pots of things goes in it too.
Yeah, I think
There's
that's.
7 class cases at the museum, and all came from
Really?
fall.
Where's the cover?
So, I mean, I'd like to
Like
think that they would have
tons.
done one of those little surveys, but yeah, see, this isn't set up in a way that people could just like, I mean, unless you just like randomly park along the circle to then go walk down the trail.
I would think from Martha.
I mean, you know,
Where's the
not for nothing, everybody walks up
They
Knob Hill
probably,
with their
yeah,
dogs from
they
Marsh.
probably have 2-car parking for their own
Yeah,
places, right?
exactly.
What are you looking for?
All the pieces.
Pots mostly.
The cover letter.
Okay, people don't have all things,
Nope,
what's up
we
with
don't.
that?
It's
Jeez.
like unruly children.
But you don't know how to fold maps either.
Orchard. Alright, so if they build this, I'm just gonna bring my dog here and pick some apples.
I know, and look at, and you can walk all the way down here
Look,
to
the
them.
arrowheads.
Yeah, exactly, I'm just gonna like walk around with the metal detector, don't mind me!
Alright,
And they
so
said
that's
it's
the last
17.
thing for tonight.
Oh, good.
Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Turn.
Did anybody have anything? Let's see, I gotta write it down, right?
Nobody said anything.
Do you need
Okay.
this back?
I think if it was in court for 3 days, they probably already kind of covered
Yeah,
everything.
I mean, nothing jumps out to me.
I have a second on the adjournment.
A second.
All in favor?